Hello again, everyone. It's a brand new update for the channel here. The first one of 2020, which has taken about a month, I guess. But I've been obviously very hard at work getting a lot of stuff out for you guys. Put out a lot of reviews in like the last maybe 6 weeks or so. So I did Passenger 57, I did FX, I did the Sleepy Hollow, and just did the review for Underwater, which is still in theaters for at least the time being. Like I said in that review, if you guys can get out to see it, I definitely recommend it highly. But go check out my review if you haven't, and get a little more information about it before you go into the theater. Or if you're watching this at some weird later time, just go watch it on streaming or somewhere. But regardless of that, I got a lot of stuff I want to get into, a lot of updates. I want to get through things very quickly. I don't want a long update. I want to get nice and succinct. So we've just had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre commentary hit the channel. We've got other commentaries that are already recorded, already in the queue. They're actually, technically, they're already up on Patreon through the commentary archive, even though I haven't advertised them. I guess I'm doing that now. The one for Die Hard with a Vengeance with myself, Steve, and Trent is up there. You can download that directly from the archive. I'll probably be putting up a post making that very distinct and everything like that, putting up on social media, that you can get those through the archive now if you are a Patreon subscriber. Support or whatnot, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 commentary is also up there. So all those have been well recorded. They're all processed and set up and ready to go. I just don't have YouTube versions up yet, but if you become a Patreon subscriber for $1 a month, you can get access to that stuff early. We won't be releasing the Die Hard with a Vengeance one for at least another week. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 one will not go up until maybe another 2.5 weeks. And then at the end of the month, we are going to be doing a very particular commentary for a horror film I have reviewed. And Steve and I are going to get together and record something because at the end of the month, it is my birthday. So we are recording something very particular there. So if you can guess it, good for you. You're ahead of the game. And we'll be getting up some really good stuff for you guys and all that type of stuff. So lots of great stuff. So we'll be doing a little bit of pause. Then we'll get back to some chainsaw stuff. Then do some other stuff. And a lot of satisfying, great stuff. Get some classics. Some stuff that's a little underrated. Some stuff that's a little bit mixed. And all the different flavors of that here and out. But regardless of that, so that's what's coming up there on terms of commentaries. With reviews, I have something very particular in mind for February here, which is going to be something I'm going to get into the pickups here in just a moment here. But I also will be doing, because I still will do the review of FX2 at some point in time, but there's very particular stuff I want to get done at certain times, because I'm up on doing something very, very soon. And then after that, because I saw whatever it was, the Hunt for Red October is going to be hitting its 30th anniversary in very early March. And I did that Jack Ryan retrospective back in the beginning of 2014, so it's been 6 years. I really only talked about that film for about 5 minutes in this like half an hour retrospective of 4 different films. And I really love the movie. And I think like I can get a lot more out of it. And I will be delving a tad bit back into that with the media pickups. But regardless of that, so I want to get these other things done first. Then I'll get Hunt for October done just in time for the 30th anniversary thing. So that means something to me because it's a really good film that I really enjoy. And I think I can do a lot more with a more extended review than just talking about quickly for 5 minutes from something from 6 years ago and stuff like that. So what I'm also going to be doing is also partially a Redux review, because let's just jump into the media pickup stuff to tie in with that, because I think this was the very first review I did when I got the HD camera, because I did like two reviews on the old standard definition camera, then I got this thing, and then I started doing the HD stuff. So back in 2013, 7 years ago, I did a review on the 2006 Miami Vice movie. And as you can tell by the fact that I now have Blu-Rays of them, which I'll get into in a moment, I am intending to do a Redux review of the film. And this ties into the fact that, as you see up here, as I noted in a previous update, I did purchase the Blu-ray complete series set, the Mill Creek one that came out some time ago. And I really kind of, a couple months back when I got that, I really was kind of on a thing to want to do something with that. Probably just a review of the pilot episode and talk a little bit about the series, but it felt like kind of an odd thing to kind of do as a one-off TV review in that type of way. But since I started reading some other stuff about the background of the 2006 film, which I've had a very interesting history with, I got more interest in covering this because I think there's a lot of stuff I can get into the production of it and look at the film in different light and just kind of examine it with more fresh eyes, in my opinion. So this is going to be a lot of times I've gone back and re-examined this film, so it's going to be a very interesting type of thing. So I am going to be doing a review of the pilot episode Brothers Keeper of Miami Vice television series. Again, talk a little bit about the series in general at the end of that whole thing and stuff like that. And they'll segue into a separate review of the 2006 film. So why I have two different Blu-rays here is that even though, wherever the hell I put it, it was around here somewhere, it's right in front of me. Even though when this was coming out on DVD in about late 2006, they did release the unrated director's cut and the theatrical cut, both on DVD in the US, but they are separate releases. When it came to Blu-ray in 2008, they put out the unrated director's cut on Blu-ray in the US only, and the theatrical cut in the UK. Thankfully, Universal has the global rights to this, apparently, and this is a region-free disc. So I just got this today through Amazon Prime, with a little help from a gift card that I got for myself and stuff like that. And so I now have both versions of the film in HD to revisit. Even though I have the standard def, when I do the reviews, I kind of like to have the best quality version possible. So that's why I was very eager to get this. The unrated director's cut of both formats has Mann's commentary and stuff like that. They have the exact same featurettes. The UK version just has an extra music video on it. Regardless of that, I have both versions in HD to use for the review. So that's getting up on things. So that's basically what I'm going to jump into as soon as possible. Once my time allows for it, I'm going to jump into doing the review of the pilot episode. Then I'll work on review for the 2006 film. So, as I've said before, earlier in this thing, I had a very interesting, twisting relationship with that 2006 film, which I'll definitely get into when I produce the video. So I'm not going to get into it here. It's too involved. But I've had the soundtrack CD for a very long time. Mostly songs from it, licensed tracks, whatnot. There's like maybe 2 tracks of the actual score from, I believe, John Murphy on this thing. But as I produce things, you'll understand what I'm getting at and all that type of stuff. And I've got kind of a later release thing from Jan Hammer where he kind of re-recorded a bunch of the themes for the series on this. At the time that film came out, maybe about a year or 2 before it came out, but regardless of that, all this stuff we put to use in the near future to produce these reviews. So I'm very much excited for that. Because like I said, I wanted to do something with the series in terms of the pilot or something like that. This gives me a reason to tie it into it, to kind of compare, contrast, see the progression from one thing to the next, how they exist in their own eras, and so on. So on our other media pickups that are slightly related to other things, I got for Christmas the Intrada expanded release of the Jerry Goldsmith score for Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. My sister got me this for Christmas and everything, and I've listened to it a couple of times, and it's phenomenal, because Jerry Goldsmith is one of the best of all time. Even if he's scoring probably, a lot of people consider it the worst Star Trek film. We've had contentious things since then. But regardless of that, one of the least revered entries in the franchise, Goldsmith still nails the shit off it, and he does a wonderful thing. I'm still interested in getting scores for Star Trek 6, because Idleman does a great job on that thing. Cliff Idleman, great stuff. And I was watching First Contact some time ago, and it's like, the score is really fantastic again from Goldsmith. I want to get my hands on that, so I'll still get around to the Star Trek 5 and Star Trek 6 reviews later on down the line. But I want to get some variety in the channel, get some, just a different mix of things, because I was kind of getting a little too much in routine of just kind of going back to the same things I knew, stuff like that with Star Trek. It's like I couldn't think of anything else, or wasn't very excited about other things, anything else, so I just do a Star Trek review. And they weren't performing terribly well, so despite the fact that it's a lot more algorithm than it is the content, I'm still saying, I was like, okay, 2020, I want to get some freshness, so I did FX. I wanted to get into that. I wanted to get in Passenger 57 there, and I just get up on things about seeing some stuff about Sleepy Hollow online, so I jumped on that review. So I heard things about Underwater here and there, and I just found the time to go see that on a kind of a long, relaxed weekend I really needed. So that's really got me going. So I'm really happy how things have started out here. We've got a lot of commentaries recorded, plenty of reviews I put out, so I'm glad I've gotten this pace up and everything, but I'm gonna put things off for Star Trek, because like I said, I have the Miami Vice stuff, Hunt for Red October, FX2 I'll get around to, and then somewhere in April I want to get around to the Sean Connery, Peter Hyams film Outland for something very particular that's going to happen in April. So I'll get on top of that. We get a whole lot closer to that point in time, so I'll have stuff to talk about then. For a reason, for people who didn't realize I didn't already own Skyfall, I did decide to get it, because I was never hugely... I was like, it's a great film, but it's not like a highly entertaining, enjoyable film that I can go back and watch so much, because it's not a fun film. It's very grim type of movie in a certain way. So it was like, I was like, I never really want to revisit that much, but just seeing images of Roger Deakins' glorious cinematography in this, I got to revisit this sometime soon. And yeah, and again, Casino Royale, that review is still on the book, so probably when I get resolved from like Hunt for Red October, I'll probably fill out Casino Royale again, because that'll be a lot closer to the release of No Time to Die, the new Bond film coming out in April, so this should all work out very nicely. So the structure works out nicely. So there's that. So I got that. I haven't watched Skyfall again, but I'll definitely be watching it around the time I do the Casino Royale review to just get a brief overview of the other films in Craig's Bond legacy here. So get on that. And I recently had gotten kind of an itch to kind of watch this film again. And I had it on DVD and stuff like that, but, you know, I kind of want to upgrade to Blu-ray, get the HD experience. And I just picked up Ocean's 11 when I was out hunting for some other stuff I have here and stuff like that. And I think I was hunting for something else that's not within reach right now. I'll probably get to it at a different time, but grabbed up Ocean's 11 and watched it again. It's like, it's still pretty good. It feels a tad bit dated in some places. There's some stuff in terms of, I think that the musical score doesn't hold up as well as it could. I think there's just a few minor pieces of the film that just don't quite maintain a certain modern feel to it 19 years later. So, but it's still a good film. I still enjoyed watching it and stuff like that, but it was kind of nice to kind of revisit it and get a fresh feel for it and everything like that. Obviously, I picked up this 25th anniversary Blu-ray of Sleepy Hollow that has the original Washington Irving story inside of it. This nice sort of illustrated book. It has stills from the movie, stuff like that in here. So, same old disc they put out in 2006, but I figured at the time I didn't get around to actually producing the review as quickly as I thought. But I was kind of on a big thing to grab it real quickly, and they had this a little bit more pricey than I would have liked to, maybe about $17 over at Barnes & Noble, but it was the quickest way I could get the Blu-ray of the film to kind of get into that and everything like that. So that's kind of nice. And since I mentioned Texas Chainsaw stuff, I did grab up the stripped down version of the 40th anniversary remaster here and everything like that, because they had far more extensive sets that had a lot extra discs on it and more collector packaging stuff, but they're way too expensive. I just wasn't willing to pay that much money, but grabbed up the Scream Factory version of the second film, so we definitely recorded the commentary off of that. I delved into as much of the information on this thing as I could, and got enough insight, and Steve knows the film extremely well. So he had a lot of stuff to inject as well. So we had a really fun time on part two. So if some of the stuff in part one didn't feel quite as, because of the pace of the film, a lot slower type of film that doesn't have as much punch until you get like the second half of the movie, where we get our kind of usual quickness with our banter, stuff like that, our observations of the film. Part two is definitely on that track, fully all the way, definitely in line with how we kind of conduct the commentaries. Typically, we have a lot of fun with part two, so that's a really good type of thing there. And while I was outgoing, and well, there was something else I was doing while I was outgoing, but I came across. I was looking up something and whatnot. Made me come across something or another, and I went to eBay looking for some Laserdisc, and I came up with a seller that was selling two things I wanted, and thankfully he was willing to combine shipping and give me a little bit of discount, stuff like that. So, really good guy. He packed these things beautifully. And one of them was something I've been looking for a long time, the THX remaster of Patriot Games, because every time I saw a posting for it and all that type of stuff, it was always the original release. And it's like, I got the THX version of Hunt for October, THX version of Clear and Present Danger. It's like, I want to get Patriot Games because I really like Patriot Games. And so I was really happy that I found this on there. And the fact that the guy also had Batman on Laserdisc, the widescreen version. US, they only released a widescreen version, but I figured it's notable to say it is in widescreen, and got this really simple but really elegantly put together back cover and everything like that. So, Patriot Games actually looked better of the two of them, obviously because it came out about maybe 8 years later, so technology improved, THX certified, stuff like that, but Batman 1 was still pretty good looking, so it's not bad for its time at all. But obviously, Patriot Games has a different photographic style, so it has a different feel to it, different things to take advantage of. But knowing how dark Batman is visually, it still holds up very well. They did a really good job to master it, to make it not murky in the analog format, so they did a nice job for that. And so that's really kind of cool stuff there to get both of these things up on my collection here, which is getting very thick over there in that banker's box, so I gotta figure out something soon. But I was out looking for something else. I don't know if I can reach it or if it's sitting where it's supposed to be. But I was out looking for something else, and I came across, I was at a Disc Replay, resale shop chain we have around here, and I got there as the last stop on this really whiplash tour around the area. They had like 6 long crates of Laserdiscs. They had like 12 long crates of Laserdiscs. And I started just going through them so fast that I almost passed up this. This is the Crush, the original theatrical version. Because after they put out the Laserdisc and the VHS, there ended up being a lawsuit from the people, the family of the character that Alicia Silverstone's character is based upon, because the writer of the film, he had very, very similar experiences that are depicted in the film in his real life. And then after they heard about the film or saw the film, stuff like that, they filed a lawsuit, which they won. And sadly, the writer named Alicia Silverstone's character after the real person he encountered in real life. So from that point onwards, they had to call in and have people redub everyone's dialogue in the film to change Darian to Adrian. And ever since then, it sounded that way, and they're really bad dubs, for the most part. And it's like, this is the only version I can get. And thankfully, it's a widescreen version again. Thank you, Warner Brothers. And it was just like, I was flipping through things so fast, I had to double take this, like, oh shit, I've been wanting this, have to get it. It was $6. A definite get. So there's the fact that, again, even the Shout Factory disc that got put out, they have interviews on there and saying, like, it probably would have cost you less just to call the original actors and just to redub these pieces of dialogue and stuff like that, or wherever the case was. It wouldn't have been that much expensive to just call the original actors in to redub the dialogue and not have this sort of mess, or it feels like it's dubbed for TV type of thing. You know, back in the day when they would bleep out the swear words, or they re-record dialogue with bad sound-alikes to re-record over the vulgarities, the profanities in the film, it would sound terrible. It was laughable. Probably anyone who has like that Arrow video release of No RoboCop probably knows exactly what I'm talking about, because they put that version on the disc. Terrible stuff. So they basically did the exact same thing for the Crush, and just had them redub the name of the character for everyone's lines, and it just doesn't sound very good. So that was the only version I was willing to get. So I'm so glad I found it, and I got it, and now I own it, and no problems. And let me see if I can grab this real quick, because I looked around because I was very interested to revisit the TV series Sliders. Now, it was a very complicated type of thing, because anyone who's not familiar with Sliders, it was a mid-90s sci-fi TV show where you had Jerry O'Connell, John Rhys Davies, Clement Derrick, Sabrina Lloyd. Jerry O'Connell's character, he ends up inventing a way to travel between alternate realities, parallel dimensions. So you'll get into different worlds that have different histories, and world kind of progressing in different ways. Some place where the British won the Revolutionary War, so U.S. is now run by the Brits, and stuff like that, or various other things where there's certain ecological catastrophes that happen, stuff like that. So interesting type of stuff. It's really good in like the first season or two. But then, because it was run by Fox, they ran a lot of the episodes completely out of order, ruining the continuity of the show, started to meddle in the goddamn creative aspects of the TV series, and really kind of mucked it up really bad in certain places. And regardless of that, I had to hunt down the original Universal DVD sets of the first 3 seasons. Because Mill Creek did release a DVD set that put all the episodes in their correct chronological continuity order. But they took what Universal had originally put out as a complete series set with 22 discs, they compressed it down to 15 discs, so you've got more episodes per disc, which means higher compression on a series that was done in a certain way, like Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Next Generation and Babylon 5 and a lot of these other sci-fi TV shows of the late 80s into the 90s, some syndicated, where they shot on film, but all the post-production was done on standard definition videotape. And so you got this whole thing where it's like, okay, you already have the stuff done in a way where it's not going to be the highest fidelity, quality, resolution type of stuff to take from. Now you're compressing down even further than they had before. That's not good. So I went through a lot of process to figure out the best way to get this. And there's apparently a Blu-ray set with standard definition video on it in Germany, where it would be the best version if it didn't cost so goddamn much to import it, because it's all the episodes in standard def on Blu-ray. So basically it's like we can get a really high compression rate, for a lot of episodes per disc. They're all in the correct continuity order, plus they have all the bonus features from the Universal discs, which Mill Creek does not have. But it would have cost about $50. I probably grabbed these up for under $20, probably about 15 or so. So I got most of these used, I think, regards to that. So it's a really good series, I think, for the most part. After Fox gets meddling in different things, they start changing the show because it's not sexy enough, it's not action-packed enough. It's bullshit. Such bad shit. But I've heard rumblings that possibly Jerry O'Connell, the original creator of the show, as well, Tracy Torme, who worked on Star Trek The Next Generation a little bit, and I think John Rhys Davies were in talks with NBC Universal about possibly reviving the show. Where that stands now, I don't know, but this happened about a year ago, and things were looking positive, but nothing's really kind of come up since. But who knows, since they're launching their own, again, everyone's launching their own goddamn streaming services. They need as much stuff to put on there as possible, so we'll see. We'll see if something happens. I'd be interested, because after John Rhys Davies left the show, it kind of lost a certain quality to it, that he wasn't caring for how the direction the show was going because of the network interference, stuff like that. So he bowed out of the series, but there are certain continuity loopholes you could bring him back from the way he left it. So if you want to get in the series, there are certain things to dig into, and several websites devoted to it that can really get you a lot more interested in it. And there's a Twitter account I follow that does a lot of stuff to keep that fandom alive and everything like that. So lots of good stuff there and everything like that. So it went on a little longer than I intended, but I went as fast as I could, be as succinct as I possibly could, and stuff like that. So take a moment to breathe. And so a lot of stuff I picked up here. So guys, just let me know what you feel, because if you have seen Sliders, because Sliders isn't even on streaming anymore. I mean, when it was it was only like an inordinate amount of episodes. Maybe only like the first 3 seasons, but maybe not all the episodes of those seasons. It was really sporadic, so they kind of used that when Mill Creek was re-releasing it to kind of promote that, like, most of the series isn't really on streaming. It's something that you can only really get on disc. So let's promote it that way. But because Mill Creek is that kind of bargain label and whatnot, they want to kind of make it as cheap as possible for the consumer. So they kind of skimp out on certain things that really could make it a better product overall. So had they kept the same number of discs with the same level of compression quality, I would have gotten that set instead. But since I basically am never watching season 5, because season 5 just really well off the mark. O'Connell's gone by that. We got one original cast member left. I just really don't care for it. Even season 4 really gets a little bit kind of wonky because now they're on the Sci-Fi channel and stuff like that. It just gets a little wonky after season 3. Regards to that, so the first 2.5 seasons at least are really good stuff for the most part. We'll see some dated effects. I had a little trouble getting acclimated back into that quality and whatnot on the certain effects work, but the quality of the writing, the characters are really damn good. The acting is really good. It's a fun show. Definitely check it out if you ever get the chance to. Watch it. At least watch it from the first season. It's really good stuff. I was very impressed with the pilot overall. Again, one of the things that they actually shot on film and edited and did all the post work on film. So the pilot looks really damn good on disc. So check it out, guys. And that's all I got for you at this point in time. We'll be putting out more good stuff soon. And next time I have something good to say, you'll see me back here again. So, guys, thanks much. Take care. Check out the Patreon. Thanks much. Bye-bye.